I work in New York City. I've lived in New York City the last 25 years or so, in various places. I count Jersey City as part of New York. It's just commutable.
640.
It is. So, post-COVID, I'm going in 3 days a week. I don't know anyone personally that goes in 5 days a week. There are companies in the financial sector, in city government, certainly. So my question, we've got a lot of questions. We're going to talk about revitalizing urban cores, but let me just start off with the basic question, like what is really happening in New York City? Like what is the data you're seeing? Like we get lots of reports, but what's the truth that you see and that you understand?
I love this question.
The past few years have been tough. They've been tough for everyone. And in spring of 2020, New York City, we were the proverbial ground zero of the pandemic in the nation. And a lot of people left New York. And it was pretty harrowing. A lot of people left a lot of cities and moved to the suburbs or moved to the country. Supposedly it was the demise of density. But holy cow, New York City, and Manhattan in particular, came roaring back. In July of 2020 through July of 2021, Manhattan grew so fast, it added 17,000 residents. To put that in relative terms, if Manhattan in itself were a city, and not just a borough, it would be the 5th fastest growing city in America, after some of the rising cities we've been talking about today and in your latest issue of Worth. But what comes with that? Like, it's great. Like we're seeing our population stabilize. We're close to 8.5 million again, which is wonderful. And we expect to keep growing. People still want to come to New York. It is a great place to be. It's a great place for jobs, for industry, for dynamism, to try new things. But what we're seeing is that this is hitting, straight on to a very dire housing shortage. We have a housing crisis, like many cities in the United States. What's compounding it is that many people, of course, are working from home now. They've got the flexibility, and they need space. They need more space. They don't want to live in a shoebox with 4 roommates, or they need more space. So the housing supply is even more crunched. We are taking this on straight on. We have 3 major city initiatives under the umbrella of City of Yes. We want to be the city where we're going to say yes. Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do it. We're going to figure out a way to do it. And we have in the works right now something called City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. And instead of going into neighborhoods, neighborhood by neighborhood, and increasing density here, increasing density there, we are looking at the city-wide crisis and coming at it with a city-wide solution. So what we're doing is we're asking every neighborhood in New York City, low density, mid density, high density, to do its part. And if all these neighborhoods do their part and take on a little bit more density and add more housing supply, all boats are going to be lifted. We're going to create more housing that way. And I learned a new term relatively recently, gentle densification.
Densification.
Gentle densification. So, there are a lot of low density communities, neighborhoods, single family, 2-family homes that have been spooked about seeing more density. But they're actually being more receptive to this because turns out people want to live, they want age in place. We were out in communities in Staten Island not too long ago, and they don't want us to Nana to New Jersey. They want Nana to live with them, at the house, maybe in an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. Maybe some of you call it Fonzie flat or a granny flat. So we're seeing a lot more receptivity to this kind of thing, and it's really exciting.
One of the things everybody always says is like, well, if the offices aren't filled and you've got office buildings, why can't you convert them to residences? And it's not that easy to do so, and certainly not that easy to do it affordably, right?
It is hard, Grant. It is time intensive and expensive to convert an office building to residential, but there is some appetite for it, and we should be helping these property owners out to make it easier to convert. We have high office vacancy right now. We have a housing crisis. Let's take these both on. So let's make it easier to convert these buildings. The city, we're doing all we can. We need help from the state. We do need help from the state. But I think, if we change our rules, and we are doing it under the City of Yes Housing Opportunity Initiative, and we get some help with the state, we expect that we can get 20,000 new homes. That can accommodate 40,000 New Yorkers. So that's a terrific opportunity. We want to do that.
The other thing, they did some polling and they asked people about going back to the office, and people don't mind going to the office. They like going to the office. What most people hate is the commute. They have time spent on the train, in the car, whatever, not productive, and it's like that in-between time, and then not having that commute during those years is something everybody loved, regardless of the pandemic. What can you do as a planner to sort of alleviate the commuting logjam?
Well, number one, I think it's really important that we are supporting a constellation of job centers. So it's not really about two giant footprints, Midtown Manhattan and Lower Manhattan. It's about downtown Brooklyn. It's about Long Island City. It's about Morris Park in the Bronx. It's about St. George and Staten Island. It's about Jamaica, Queens. It is really important that we support the strength and we enhance these areas as great job centers and also places to live, like really dynamic mixed-use districts. They already have infrastructure in place. This is not the heaviest lift. Some people think that it's just Times Square or Penn Station that has all the access to the regional labor shed or to the city's labor shed, but no, these other areas that I just talked about have incredible access. Like 3 million New Yorkers have access to these points and to do these different downtowns, and that's terrific. We want to support this. We saw during the pandemic that people want to live and work with more proximity to, they want to not go so far, not travel an hour. Like you said, yes, people don't hate the office, they hate the commute. I actually love my commute, it's me time, but it can be rough. It can be rough for a lot of people, right? So let's try to shorten commutes and by supporting job centers in all 5 boroughs. Also, let's keep on investing in transit. Let's make more transit opportunities. So, the City of New York, we are constantly investing. It's important to invest in transit options for people. So we have in the works right now, you've probably heard, the state's very active on a new master plan for Penn Station. Super exciting, because I know probably everyone's been to Penn Station. There are plans for a totally revamped bus terminal at the Port Authority. We are making huge efforts in these other downtown transit hubs. It's fantastic. It's really great to support. We want these areas to be more mixed use. What we see is the mixed use neighborhoods are the ones that do the best. During the pandemic, the neighborhoods that suffered the most, the centers that suffered the most were the monocultures, were the mono uses. The neighborhoods, the areas that did the best, they had a lot going on for them. They had residents, workers, visitors, culture, students. And what's amazing to see, because everyone talked and heard a lot about the demise of commercial activity, during the pandemic. But in neighborhoods where they offered a lot, those neighborhoods actually saw double expenditure. Like they saw double the amount of credit card taps and swipes. People were spending more where they live. I mean, of course, I think we all know that, but this is a huge lesson learned. We can promote more business growth. We can promote more destinations outside of our traditional hubs.
And the city's job in these neighborhoods is not just to promote a place to work, but to promote a place to live. And in order to do that, you need the mixed use, you need the restaurants, you need all of it, and all of it to be close, because we're still sort of fumbling towards this idea of the 20-minute city, and in New York anyway, it's so big that there's probably a collection of 20-minute cities.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think about it as a constellation, and it's really fun to visit the different 20-minute cities. What's really exciting about New York, it's such a big city that, you can live in one borough and have a vacation in another borough. You can plan a long weekend on Staten Island or in the Bronx, It's really terrific that way. And I think that the neighborhoods that have figured out how to diversify and make themselves much cooler and more interesting, they're doing really, really well. They're doing really, really well. And this is not real news. I mean, we've known for decades now that mono use is pretty deadly. We've known that, we knew in the 1990s that Lower Manhattan was dead after 5 p.m. and same with Midtown Manhattan. So we've been trying, for decades to try to enliven these areas. Not too long ago in 2017, I worked on a rezoning of East Midtown, and that's an area that's anchored by Grand Central Terminal. It's got Park Avenue, Madison Avenue, Lexington. I had been calling it the best business address in the world, which I still believe. But boy, it really needed to get cooler. It wasn't that cool.
Well, Worth Magazine just moved in last year, so.
Oh, that's terrific.
Problem
you guys
solved.
made it cooler. Yeah, okay, that's good. But that's terrific. We want different kinds of companies in there, like, having media in there is terrific. And also having different uses. JP Morgan Chase has built a giant public space on its block, open to the public, with a fountain, with benches, with a lawn, with trees, with a little kiosk. It's really important to invest in making your neighborhood interesting and cool, so these commercial districts, don't just, shut down and don't attract, more than workers.
So in terms of the city of yes, one of the keys to this, and it's come up a number of times today, are public-private partnerships, and who are you working with? Tell me some private partners, maybe JP Morgan, that you've partnered with where you've said yes, and you've got a great solution.
Oh, okay. Well, a huge one, it's very diffuse throughout the city, is the Open Restaurants Program. Mm-hmm. We saw during the pandemic that, it's fantastic to use the street for dining, and let's do this beyond the pandemic. So the city, we created regulations to allow for this and to make it go beyond the executive order or temporary status. Let's do it, in a permanent way. And so that's very exciting. I think, all cities really are giant public-private partnerships. We're creating the regulations, we're creating the rules, and we look to the private sector to deliver, and it's great. Everything we have to do in collaboration. We can't write rules that are so prescriptive and restrictive that you're not going to get anything. So it's a dance. You got to make it, just right so that people want to participate. In your plan and your vision for the city. Something that's really important for us right now is I said earlier, like, let's get to yes. We want to get zoning out of being so prescriptive. Let's get it to be more permissive. Let's get to be more permissive, because people have great ideas, people want flexibility, they want to try new things. And why in the zoning code do we have, for example, a list of uses for the special Fifth Avenue district that has things like airline ticket office, typewriter repair shop? I mean, milliners kind of come back in, but we shouldn't be that prescriptive. I mean, those things come and go, right? So let's write use codes that are much more broad and flexible, and so people can try different things. And I think that's much better for the economy and much better for job opportunities, much better.
You've been working for the city for a while.
Yes.
How have you seen the sort of city strategy evolve over time? Obviously, post-COVID is one shift, but your history goes back a little bit more than that. Like, what have you learned? What is different now from when you started in terms of how you approach the planning process?
It's a good question. I do reflect upon that because I've been with the city for over 25 years.
I didn't want to say it.
I said it. I started out as an intern, and now I'm the executive director. It's been really quite a journey, and a real honor. Thank you. Yeah, and I also am, I'm an immigrant as well, so I do like to say that. I'm an immigrant, started as an intern, and so, it's good to share these things. I think what's very different now is the upfrontness, the commitment we have to community engagement. I think we always did it. We always had it. When I started out of city planning, I was a community board liaison. At Department of City Planning in New York, we're the only agency. We have a one-for-one relationship. We have planners who are essentially assigned or matched with the community board. And so we're out in the community all the time. But it wasn't so visible beyond that community board. Now, just very recently, Department of City Planning, we created a whole division called Community Planning and Engagement. And it is a team that is supporting our community planners. It's listening to communities. It's figuring out how can we better engage and get information, put the communities at the center of these conversations. And communities are broad. I mean, we're not just talking about residents. We're talking about there's a business community, there's the electeds community, there's the Chamber of Commerce. There are a lot of different communities, and we are going out earlier and more often. And we want support earlier and more often too. So we're also not waiting until end stage of reviews, of like ULURP, our land use review process, to solicit the support. I think we're all in this together. We all have to make our city stronger, more interesting, and so it just makes a lot of sense. The other thing about having a community planning engagement team is, it's really important to state our values and then do more, and then to actually take action. Like, this is important to us, so we're going to create a team. It's also really important that we have now a chief efficiency officer, that we have a chief public realm officer. These are public realm efficiency. These are things that are important to us. So let's like put real people power behind it. Let's like let's take real action about it.
Yeah, like a lot of corporations have chief sustainability officers now.
Yes, that too.
It's a position that did not exist 10 years ago.
That's right.
And if you don't have somebody in charge of it, then there's nobody advocating for
That's
it.
right.
And you don't make progress. Edith, it's been great talking to you. I want to save time because we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the day. And I want to save a couple of minutes for that. So we'll be back. You'll be here for that. We can ask you more questions then. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.